यहाँ प्रदेश के लोगों को तो परिचय के मोहताज नहीं है, लेकिन हमारे बहुत सारे प्रतिनिधि बाहर से आए हैं, तो उनके लिए प्रोफेसर कैलाश सुडानी जी वर्तमान में एडवाइज़र हायर एजुकेशन हैं टू गवर्नर, प्रख्यात लेखक और बहुत ही ओजस्वी वक्ता की पहचान कैलाश सुडानी जी ने बनाई है। राजस्थान के 5 विश्वविद्यालयों में कुलपति का कार्य कर चुके हैं, तो आप उनके अनुभव को समझ सकते हैं। उसके साथ ही उन्होंने बहुत सारे एकेडमिक रिलेटेड काउंसिल्स, कमिटीज़ में काम किया और राजस्थान के लिए उच्च शिक्षा के लिए बहुत सारे निर्णयों में सर का योगदान रहा है। और सर, आप यहाँ आए, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। मैं बुलाना चाहूँगा प्रोफेसर महेंद्र गोखरू जी को। महेंद्र जी विद्या भारती उच्च शिक्षा संस्थान चित्तौड़ प्रदेश के अध्यक्ष हैं। आप आएँ और प्रोफेसर कैलाश सुडानी जी का स्वागत करें। Now I will invite Dr. Shashi Ranjan Akela ji. Shashi Ranjan ji is National Vice President of Vidya Bharati Uच्च शिक्षा संस्थान। आप कृपया जगदीश जी का स्वागत करें। As we all know, the Viksit Bharat Shiksha Adhisthan Bill 2025, which is a major reform in higher education. Honorable Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan ji introduced the bill in Parliament. और जैसा हम सबको विदित है, ये एक सिंगल रेगुलेटर की तरह कार्य करेगा और उसके लिए जो वर्तमान में UGC, AICT, NCT वो they will subsume in this अधिष्ठान। अधिष्ठान ने 3 वर्टिकल्स के लिए बात किया है। 3 काउंसिल्स इट इज प्रपोज्ड, रेगुलेटरी काउंसिल, एक्रेडिटेशन काउंसिल एंड स्टैंडर्ड काउंसिल। परिचर्चा चल रही है, बिल अभी JPC में है, बट इससे रिलेटेड बहुत सारे चीज़ें, बहुत सारे हमारे दिमाग में प्रश्न हो सकते हैं और जानकारी, तो उसके लिए ये सत्र का आयोजन किया है। मैं आमंत्रित करना चाहूँगा हमारे सत्र के अध्यक्ष प्रोफेसर कैलाश सुडानी जी को, कृपया कार्यक्रम का आगे संचालन करें। धन्यवाद।
अखिल भारतीय संस्थागत नेतृत्व समागम 2026 के इस टेक्निकल सेशन में मेरे साथ मंच पर देश के महत्वपूर्ण शिक्षाविद प्रोफेसर जगदीश कुमार जी हैं। मेरे सामने भी देश के ख्याति प्राप्त विद्वान, कुलपतिगण, शिक्षक साथी मौजूद हैं। निश्चित रूप से इस संस्थागत समागम में पिछले 2 दिन से चर्चाओं का जो दौर चल रहा है, ऐसा लगता है कि जिस शैक्षणिक वातावरण को बनाने के लिए हम पिछले वर्षों से प्रयास कर रहे थे, शायद अब फलीभूत होने के आसार दिखाई दे रहे हैं। विकसित भारत शिक्षा अधिष्ठान विधेयक 2025, जिस पर हम अभी चर्चा करेंगे, ये भारत में उच्च शिक्षा के लिए एक एकीकृत नियामक ढांचा तैयार करने हेतु नया कानून बनाया जा रहा है। इसका मूल उद्देश्य प्रभावी समन्वय व मानकों के निर्धारण के माध्यम से उच्च शिक्षा संस्थानों को उत्कृष्टता प्राप्त करने के लिए सशक्त बनाना है। एनईपी 2020 के अनुरूप उच्च शिक्षा के नियामक ढांचे का सुधार करना है, जिसमें अधिकार क्षेत्रों के आपसी अतिव्यापन को समाप्त करना है, नियमों का सरलीकरण और अनुपालन में कमी लाना है, ताकि संस्थान अकादमिक उत्कृष्टता पर अधिक ध्यान दे सके। इस प्रस्तावित अधिनियम में विधेयक में 3 विशेष परिषदों का गठन होना है, परंतु महत्वपूर्ण बात यह है, यूजीसी, एआईसीटी और एनसीटी इनको निरस्त किया जाएगा और एक ही अम्ब्रेला के नीचे लाया जाएगा, ताकि अपनी शैक्षणिक उत्कृष्टता पर वह संस्थान पूरी तरह से ध्यान दे सके। संचालन में स्पष्टता लाने के लिए भी इस प्रकार का परिवर्तन आवश्यक हो रहा है। दूसरी महत्वपूर्ण बात है 21वीं शताब्दी जो रिसर्च ओरिएंटेड है। इस समय जो देश सर्वाधिक अनुसंधान पर ध्यान देगा, दुनिया का नेतृत्व उसी के पास रहेगा। इस सच्चाई को ध्यान में रख करके एनईपी 2020 में शोध पर बहुत अधिक ध्यान दिया गया है। अनुसंधान, नवाचार, एकल नामांकन अनुपात को प्रोत्साहित कर यह उच्च गुणवत्ता वाली ज्ञान आधारित अर्थव्यवस्था के निर्माण में सहायक होगा। विकसित भारत 2047 के दृष्टिकोण को मजबूती प्रदान करेगा। वैश्विक प्रतिस्पर्धा में भारत को आगे लाने के लिए भी इस विधेयक की तत्काल आवश्यकता है। मित्रों, आप सभी जानते हैं, शैक्षणिक जगत के मूर्धन्य विद्वान हैं कि हमारे यहां पर हायर एजुकेशन का कन्वर्जन रेट ओनली 28% है। 2035 तक उसे 50% लाने के टारगेट को पूरा करने के लिए भी इस प्रकार के नियामक की आवश्यकता है। हमारे देश में टीचर्स की जबरदस्त कमी है। आईआईटी में 40%, आईआईएम में 31% और राजस्थान के विश्वविद्यालयों की मैं चर्चा करूंगा तो बहुत मुझे खुद को शर्म आएगी। अध्यापक विहीन विश्वविद्यालय चल रहे हैं। अपर्याप्त अनुसंधान और रिसर्च एंड डेवलपमेंट की हालत यह है कि जीडीपी का केवल 0.7% हमारे यहां अनुसंधान पर खर्च होता है, जबकि चाइना में 2.4% और अमेरिका में 3.5%। स्वाभाविक रूप से यह अंतर हमारे को पिछड़ाता है, पीछे ले जाता है, और इसीलिए रिसर्च ओरिएंटेड यूनिवर्सिटीज की आवश्यकता है। इसी ढंग से मैं कहना चाहूंगा कि हमारे शैक्षणिक जगत में जो पाठ्यक्रम है विश्वविद्यालयों की, वो रोजगार से कनेक्टिविटी बहुत कम है। अभी हम जिस प्रकार की शिक्षा दे रहे हैं उसमें मात्र 5% लोग इंडस्ट्री से जुड़ पाते हैं। इस पिक्चर को बदलना पड़ेगा। दूसरा महत्वपूर्ण बात है पाठ्यक्रम, क्योंकि पाठ्यक्रम की रचना से ही हमारे विद्यार्थी का निर्माण होता है। उस पाठ्यक्रम में निश्चित रूप से हमारे देश की संस्कृति, पुरातन पर स्वाभिमान जागृत हो, ऐसा पाठ्यक्रम हमें तैयार करने की आवश्यकता है। निसंदेह यह भारत की एनईपी 2020 तीसरी शिक्षा नीति है। इससे पहले 1968 में पहली शिक्षा नीति, 1986 में दूसरी शिक्षा नीति बनी थी। उन शिक्षा नीतियों के माध्यम से देश में शैक्षणिक वातावरण में तो अभिवृद्धि हुई, परंतु जिस सोच की आवश्यकता थी वो सोच डेवलप नहीं हो पाया। कल मूर्ति साहब ने बतलाया था कि चश्मा नहीं बदल पा रहे, हमारा आत्मविश्वास जागृत नहीं कर पा रहे हैं। हमें आज भी लगता है कि गोरी चमड़ी हमारे से ज्यादा बुद्धिमान है, ज्यादा अकलमंद है, हम कमजोर हैं, स्वयं मानते हैं। इस सोच को बदलने की आवश्यकता है, और इस सोच को बदले बिना अभी होता क्या है, आपके बच्चे का आईआईटी में एडमिशन होता है, एम्स में एडमिशन होता है, और उसके बजाय एक छोटे से डिप्लोमा कार्यक्रम में कैम्ब्रिज में एडमिशन हो जाए, समाज में वो पेरेंट्स ज्यादा खुशियां मनाते हैं। पता नहीं हमारे दिमाग में कैसे ये फिट हो गया कि कैम्ब्रिज और हार्वर्ड दुनिया के सबसे शहंशाह विश्वविद्यालय है। इस सोच को बदलने की जरूरत है। हम बहुत मजबूत है, हमारा पुरातन मजबूत है, हमारी संस्कृति ताकतवर है। यह भाव हमारे हर विद्यार्थी के मन मस्तिष्क में पैदा करना पड़ेगा। आजादी हुए तो 80 साल हो गए हैं, परंतु दिमाग से आजादी अभी प्राप्त करना बाकी है। मानसिकता अभी हमारी बहुत कमजोर है। इस कमजोर मानसिकता को दूर करने के लिए इस प्रकार का विधेयक लाने की सख्त आवश्यकता है, जिसके माध्यम से व्यवस्था में सरलीकरण आएगा, समन्वय स्थापित होगा। और मैं ऐसा मानता हूं कि विश्वविद्यालय जिस ढंग से इस समय काम कर रहे हैं, अपने पाठ्यक्रमों में तत्काल परिवर्तित करते हुए देश को उन ऊंचाइयों पर पहुंचाएगा जिसकी कल्पना हमारे देश के प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी करते हैं कि 2047 में भारत दुनिया का नेतृत्व करेगा। उसके लिए हमें रिसर्च ओरिएंटेड होना पड़ेगा, हमारी शैक्षणिक व्यवस्था को ठीक करना पड़ेगा, हमारे पाठ्यक्रमों को ठीक करना पड़ेगा, हमारे विद्यार्थियों को आईटी और एआई में मजबूत करना पड़ेगा। इसी दृष्टिकोण को रख करके इस प्रकार का यह विधेयक तैयार किया गया है। मैं इस विषय पर अधिक समय नहीं लूंगा। सौभाग्य से हमारे मध्य देश के मूर्धन्य विद्वान जगदीश कुमार जी मौजूद है, जिनका एनईपी 2020 के निर्माण में भी महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका रही है। मैं आमंत्रित करता हूं आज के मुख्य वक्ता प्रोफेसर जगदीश कुमार जी को। धन्यवाद।
Okay. Namaskar to all the distinguished colleagues who have come from across the country. I see so many senior administrators, faculty members, and students in the audience. Friends, I'll be speaking for some time on Vikasit Bharat Shiksha Adhishtan, and then I will also take the questions and answers. The purpose of making this presentation is twofold. One is to understand the objectives for which we are setting up Vikasit Bharat Shiksha Adhishtan, have greater clarity about its objectives, and two, to go back to our institutions and amplify the objectives of Vikasit Bharat Adhishtan. Because I see that many academicians, the stakeholders may have doubts about the purpose of Vikasit Bharat Adhishtan itself. So therefore, you have to be the torch bearers. When you go back to your institutions, if you are a head of institution, please ensure that you have a meeting with all your faculty and the academic unit heads and discuss about the objectives and the structure of Vikasit Bharat Adhishtan. And if you are a teacher, you can call your own students in your classroom and have a discussion, take their questions and answers. So the information about Vikasit Bharat Adhishtan has to percolate to the last student, to the last institution in our country. And as committed academicians, I have full trust in you that when you go back after this conference in the next couple of weeks to 1 month, you will make sure that Vikasit Bharat Adhishtan, Shiksha Adhishtan is clearly understood by all our stakeholders. What I am going to do in this talk is to focus on a few important aspects of Vikasit Bharat Adhishtan. I want to describe, first of all, the challenges that our institutions are facing because of the multiplicity of the regulators that we have. And then I will briefly look at the structure of the VBSA. As it was mentioned, it has 3 structures, but what are their objectives and how they will achieve those objectives. And then I will also look at some of the concerns raised in the media by other stakeholders across the country. And we will discuss how safeguards are built into this VBSA bill so that the regulatory system that we have in our country after VBSA bill is passed in the parliament, it will be completely transparent, it will maintain federal balance, and it will provide graded autonomy to our institutions, and accountability is built into the entire process. Let me also tell you that this is a historic reform in independent India. So far, such a large-scale reform has never been taken up to bring together major regulators of our higher education system. And as you already know that almost every week one new university is being set up in our country. And we have more than 65,000 colleges across the country. So when we want to regulate the higher education, the first question that comes to our mind is, why do we want to regulate at all? Why can't we leave it just open? Let everybody do what they want to do. The primary objective of regulation is to protect the student interests. That is the major reason why we want to regulate the higher education, so that our higher educational institutions focus on providing quality education, and they also function in such a way, in such a transparent way, that there is public trust in the functioning of our higher educational institutions. But however, we have multiple regulators. We have more than 22 or 23 regulators in our country. And that is causing a lot of challenges to our institutions in terms of providing data, duplication of the many things that the regulators ask our institutions to do. And then there is a huge compliance burden from multiple regulators. Therefore, the institutions are not in a position to actually focus on the major functions for which they are set up. That is providing high quality education and building appropriate research ecosystem in our educational institutions. That is the reason why, as NEP 2020 has mentioned, once VBSA comes, you will see a regulatory system which is more a facilitator than interfering with the institutional functioning, in day-to-day functioning of the institutions. And that's the reason why we say that light but tight regulation is what we mean. When I say tight, it is all about ensuring that our institutions focus on integrity, transparency, and provide high quality education. That is what is the tight regulation means. You know that there are three major regulators in our country: UGC, AICTE, and NCTE, and COA, the Council of Architecture. These four regulators function in collaboration with the Ministry of Education. UGC alone regulates nearly 80% of the students in higher education. AICTE, NCTE, and COA put together, they regulate about 10 to 12% of the students. So that means nearly 90% of the students will be regulated once these four organizations are part of the VBSA. I will talk about COA a little later, how it is going to be restructured as part of the VBSA. The remaining 10% of the students are regulated by more than 20 councils and other regulators. And this is the reason why we are focusing on the major regulators in our country, which regulate nearly 90% of our students. So therefore, because of the fragmentation, as I mentioned a little while ago, the institutions had to approach multiple regulators. Many of our institutions are comprehensive institutions, meaning that they may run a teacher's program, an engineering program, or general education. But because all these the components of higher education are regulated by multiple regulators, they had to go to different regulators, and that is what is causing huge challenges to the educational institutions. Therefore, their attention is diverted from providing high quality education and in making sure that good quality research is carried out in our educational institutions. Now, when we look at the VBSA, what it is proposing is to create a regulatory system which will work as a coordinating framework rather than a command center. Many people may think that when these multiple large multiple regulators are brought under VBSA, it is going to be one single command control, but I will show you in a little while as I move forward that it is going to be an enabling coordinating framework rather than a command center. As you are already aware, in VBSA, we are separating the three functions of these regulators. Currently, if you look at any regulator, either it is AICTE or UGC, they do multiple things. They approve applications, they set standards, they regulate. So there are many things each of these regulators do, and you have to go to each one of them. So in this bill, therefore, the regulatory components of each of these four regulators will be brought under the regulatory council, and the academic standards such as the National Credit Framework, Academic Bank of Credits, all such things will be brought under the Standards Council. And then we also have the NAC, which is actually part of UGC. It is an University Center of UGC. So it will be separated out. The current accreditation process also includes NBA, and then you have a ranking system. All of them will come under the accreditation council. And globally, it is a common practice to separate regulation, standards, and accreditation to avoid any conflict of interest among these bodies. What we want to have once the VBSA is established is that we want to give more, the VBSA bill aims to give more and more autonomy to the educational institutions in a graded way based on how they perform. So it is more output-based autonomy that will be given to the educational institutions once the VBSA comes into operation. The bill has what is known as VBSA on the top as the apex body, and the VBSA bill uses the word commission for this VBSA apex body. And under this apex body, you have three independent councils: the regulatory council, the accreditation council, and the standards council. And as I have mentioned, each of these councils have very clear-cut responsibilities so that there is no conflict of interest among them. So this is how the structure looks like. You have the commission, which has a non-executive chairperson plus 12 members. And then there are three distinct verticals. One is called the regulatory council, the other one is called accreditation council, and the third one is called the standards council. And each one of them will have a president who is a full-time president and 14 members. So I will, as an example, I will just show you the commission composition and one council composition. So you can see here that the ex officio members will be the presidents of each of those councils, and the secretary of the Department of Higher Education also will be ex officio. And what is important here is that for the first time, the commission will consist of 2 academicians coming from the state higher educational institutions. Currently, you don't have any such representation at all. And then there are 5 eminent experts. It could be academicians, it could be industry experts, it could be policy experts. So you will have 5 eminent experts as part of this commission. So what does this commission do? The commission provides the overall, looks at the overall development of higher education in our country, and it will also ensure that the Bharatiya knowledge system, Indian languages, and our arts are integrated in our education. It will function as a coordinating body for the regulatory accreditation and standards council. It will not be functioning as an ordering body. It is not a central controlling body, but it is a coordinating body for the 3 regulators. And the funding will not be available with the 3 councils. All the funding will be available with the commission, and the commission will then provide the funding requirement. Whatever the councils have, the commission will provide. And it will also advise the central and state governments on matters referred to it. Let me look at, as an example, the regulatory council composition. So it has a full-time member, two eminent academicians as full-time members and one president as full-time. And now if you look at the composition of each of these councils, it will be similar. So one academician from state HEI, which is very good. It will be more participative. We can take the inputs from the state universities also. And one person from the COA and 3 academicians from INIs. For the first time in our country, all the INIs will also be part of the VBSA. And the best practices that are part of these INI structures can actually be learned by making them part of this council. And then there will be a state government nominee by rotation and the rest. Now, you may say that we have so many states and you have only one state nominee or UT by rotation basis, but depending on the need, the special invitees can be brought in from the states and union territories so that all the decisions that we take are collaborative rather than decided only by one state or 2 states. Now the regulatory council will work as a single window oversight. You don't have to go to multiple regulators now, whichever program you are running. The regulatory council will have one public portal, and this is where it will be of great interest to all the educational institutions. Currently, you provide data to NAC, you provide data to multiple organizations, AICTE, UGC, and so on. But now regulatory council will maintain one single digital public platform where all the data will be provided by the higher educational institutions mandatorily. And any other body which requires data will access the data from here instead of asking the educational institutions multiple times. And this is also important because there is going to be mandatory public disclosure of information about the educational institutions on this public portal, including audited finances of the educational institutions had to be uploaded here. So because the data is coming from one single source, the decisions can be made by decreasing any kind of discretion. Now this data will also be used to provide graded autonomy to the educational institutions. The Accreditation Council, as you see, and yesterday you might have heard the presentation also, that a lot of reforms are being introduced in the accreditation process. And this Accreditation Council purpose is not just to only accredit by bringing in NAC, NBA into this vertical, but it will also in future create an accreditation ecosystem. You may have multiple accrediting systems in our country, and over a period of time, we will the VBSA will develop that and oversee their functioning. Accreditation, as you know, is extremely important, primarily from the perspective of the students. Students need to know what is the kind of quality of education that is provided in our educational institutions. Therefore, this is going to be mandatory for every educational institution to go through the accreditation process. And then the Standards Council is another very important body. As I mentioned, we must provide national standards across the country while leaving the state universities and individual educational institutions to innovate and design their educational programs. Now, common standards at a national level are extremely important because it will provide better comparability and also mobility for the students to move from one institution to the other institution, from one program to the other program, and especially when the emphasis today is on interdisciplinary learning, we must have national standards. So the Standards Council will set up the national standards, and then the Regulatory Council will ensure that the standards set by the Standards Council are implemented by the educational institutions. Now, you may have a question about what is the role of the Council of Architecture. Is it also going to be submerged? Will its act be revoked? No, that's not going to happen. The UGC, AICTE and NCTE acts will be revoked and they will become part of the VBSA. The COA will continue to function to recognize who can practice architecture as a profession. But however, their regulatory activities will come under the regulatory council, and they will also sit in the standards council and provide the inputs on the standard setting for the architecture education. So therefore, while the regulatory role goes to the regulatory council, the standard setting in the academics goes to the standards council. The COA will continue to perform its professional degree recognition role. So therefore, COA Act will only be amended instead of being revoked. Now, the important aspect of VBA is that the commission, which is the apex body, it includes multiple representations, academicians, industry experts, domain experts, and the state higher education representation is there. And all the three councils will have the states and the union territories being represented. State universities and INIs also will provide their sectoral insight because state universities have their own challenges. And INIs over a period of time have developed world-class standards. So by sitting across the table, we can learn from INIs. We can also learn from the challenges that state universities are facing, so that whatever decisions that we take, whatever regulations that we bring, they will have inputs from everybody, and that will strengthen the participation in the regulatory system and enhance the legitimacy of the policies and the regulations that the VBSA will bring in. Now, some people say that what will happen to the state governments? Will their power be taken away? Absolutely not. Even after VBSA comes, the states will continue to retain their powers to establish, fund, and manage the universities at the university level. The states can continue to take decisions on the staffing and the local administration of the state universities. So therefore, there is no such taking away of the state's power. The only thing that the VBSA will do is set the national benchmarks to protect the student interests and also ensure that there is a national compatibility of the educational degrees that we provide. Because we are enabling the state government's representation also in the VBSA, everybody's concerns will be taken into account. And this is a point that you need to keep in your mind when you go back and discuss with the stakeholders in your institutions. One of the important things that we would like to do, VBSA would like to do, is providing more and more autonomy to the educational institutions. You know that higher education can flourish only when more autonomy, more independence is given to the institutions along with the accountability. Therefore, well-performing institutions, they will have only lighter monitoring and few repeated approvals. You don't have to come back to VBSA again and again for approvals. And the institutions, what will happen? Will VBSA decide the syllabus for all the universities? Will VBSA tell you, you do this or you do not do that? Absolutely not. The institutions will have their complete autonomy. The existing academic bodies within the institutions will continue to design the curriculum, research, and the internal governance of the institutions. As I said, INIs for the first time are coming on board VBSA. Some people may have concerns saying that no, INIs have enjoyed so much of autonomy. Once they come into VBSA, will that autonomy will be curbed? Certainly not. There is a clear clause in the VBSA bill which says that the existing autonomy and the missions for which these INAs have been set up, that will remain untouched. Rather, we will learn more from their experiences and incorporate in the policies that VBSA will bring out. Right. So, right. Now, the other aspect is, once VBSA comes, of course, some people are saying with the NEP 2020 launching itself, our higher education will be commercialized. If VBSA comes, it will be even more commercialized. But we launched NEP 2020 in 2020. It's almost more than 5 years. There is nothing like commercializing the higher education. In fact, the access to higher education, either by providing schemes like Vidya Lakshmi, or by providing multiple entry, multiple exit schemes. And there are so many other schemes, reforms that we have been introducing. The access to higher education has increased. In fact, the GER also is going up year after year. So there is no question of any commercialization of the higher education once VBA comes, especially because all the higher educational institutions have to now publicly, mandatorily disclose all the finances related to their educational institutions. So as a public stakeholder on Regulatory Council portal, you can actually institution-wise institution, you can check what is the revenue generated by the institute, where this revenue is invested. Is it invested for creating better facilities for the students, research ecosystem? Everything you can actually see. So when public disclosure is made, the accountability will come. But if there are any oversights, if any institution is not following the regulations and the frameworks of the institution in terms of the public disclosure, the regulator will take appropriate action. So as I said, the protecting student interests is the primary objective of regulation. So therefore, public disclosure is one thing which will enhance the student confidence in the educational institutions. And then the accreditation reports also will provide inputs to the students to see which institution is better suited for their objectives. And for the first time, VBSA also makes it necessary that you collect the feedback from the students, student feedback, and that will become part of the accreditation. And similarly, the grievance redressal systems also have to be strengthened in all the educational institutions. When you go back and tell the students about VBSA, please emphasize on these two things, that for the first time, student feedback becomes an important component for the recognition and accreditation and evaluation of these institutions. And similarly, the grievance redressal is a mandatory thing for the educational institutions. When VBSA bill was passed, the media started asking, no, now VBSA has these penalties. You can penalize 75 lakhs, you can penalize 2 crores. But the penalty part is only a small component of the VBSA. The penalties are meant for those educational institutions which mislead the students or violate the norms and frameworks set by the VBSA. The penalties and whatever deterrent actions that we take against the educational institutions must be viewed as protecting the interests of the students. So there is nobody who opposes protecting the interests of the students. That is how it should be viewed. And it's only in rare cases that when the institutions fail to implement the due processes, they will be penalized. So therefore, let's not give too much of emphasis on these penalties. It's only one of the components of the VBSA. Now, what will happen? The VBSA regulations and frameworks, when they are announced, it will be ensured that they remain subordinate rules of our Constitution and the Parent Act, the VBSA Bill 2025. The whatever regulations and frameworks that are brought by VBSA will be a kind of roundtable consultation, representation from states and sectoral experts will be there. So what is required for us is that this VBSA, which is a result of a consultative pathway, as you know, VBSA bill is currently with the JPC, Joint Parliamentary Committee, and the Joint Parliamentary Committee is expected to give its recommendations by the first day of the monsoon session, and then the recommendations will be presented hopefully in the monsoon session. So it's a consultative pathway which is bringing out this VBSA, and within the VBSA itself, as you have seen, that the entire thing is a consultative process by taking the inputs from different stakeholders. Therefore, all of us can be confident that it will provide legitimacy to the decisions taken by the VBSA. There are a couple of public concerns that are raised in the media. I would like to present before you those concerns. Excessive centralization is going to be there because VBSA is a single body, states will have no voice, and as you have already seen that there is no such excessive centralization. It is more participative in nature because the states and state universities also will be part of this. And the nomenclature, some people are saying, why Vikasit Bharat Shiksha Adhishtan? But you know, we need to take pride in our own Indian languages. And that's the reason why the bill is named using our own Indian languages. So the fee pressures and commercial incentives for the institutions will not be there because everything has to be publicly disclosed. And if any institution is using their revenues for any commercial purposes, that can be detected and appropriate action can be taken. So there are safeguards built into the VBSA to take care of some of these concerns raised in the public. So this is where I will stop, and I'm ready to take questions if you permit. Yeah. So if anybody wants to ask a question, maybe the microphone can be passed on.
So I am N.D. Mathur, Vice Chancellor of Vivekananda Global University. I want to ask that how this bill will ensure the quality education in the country.
Mm-hmm. So see, quality depends on various factors. One is the standards that are set by the Standards Council, and whether those standards are implemented in the educational institutions, and then through accreditation process. So there are multiple processes using which we will ensure that the quality is maintained in our educational institutions. So the quality has to be related to the outcomes. So you will have program outcomes, you will have learner outcomes decided at every level, and then the accreditation process will measure whether you are meeting those outcomes based education, and that's how the quality is decided.
Sir.
Right. No, that's a very pertinent question. What he is saying is, you already have standards set, you already have accreditation. The difference here is that there are no multiple regulators which will monitor this. You don't have a different AICTE for engineering education. For general education, you don't have a different UGC. It is now only a regulatory council which will bring in uniform standards across the different kinds of education. Right.
Professor Jagdish Kumar. Yeah. Please, sir. This is Professor Tribhuvan Sharma, Rajasthan University of Veterinary and Animal Science, Jaipur. Sir, I read this bill in detail because it was a concern to everyone who is in education. And today your presentation has given me very good insight of few of the things which I was not finding it easy to understand. But in your presentation, you yourself has told that we have kept aside 10% of these students. The thing is, while reading this, while understanding this bill presented by you, I could see that you have developed some modalities that are keeping the things in line. Say, for example, in case of architecture, what you said. Here, what 10% we are keeping aside are perhaps the medical, the veterinary, the Ayurveda. What could have been the intention while drafting this bill that they are being kept on one side? Reason being is that they also, all these sectors are also requiring the same improvement in education. They are also feeling the same. The reason behind this bill is to provide autonomy to the higher education so that they may flourish at a faster pace. This is what we are actually, at the end of the day, we could understand. And it facilitates institution, students and everybody. So what could have been the intention to keep those 10% aside while drafting this bill?
Right. The difference is being pragmatic and being idealist. If I am an idealist, I will target for bringing every regulator under VBSA, but that will include a lot of administrative procedures because each of those bills have to be amended in the parliament and it can take a lot of time. But if you look in terms of the number of students, the impact we will have in a pragmatic approach by simply bringing in these 4 regulators under one body is on 90% of the students. And the world is moving very fast. We can't keep waiting for such a big reform to happen for a long time because we need to reform. If you read the media reports yesterday in the AI summit, it was very clearly understood that if you have to technologically develop our country, our pedagogy and our educational system have to be improved. And it is the presence of these multiple regulators, 4 regulators regulating 90% of the students, which is actually not helping you in implementing many of the reforms. And that is the reason why we have taken a pragmatic approach. And over a period of time, if you prove that VBSA is functioning very well and it is actually transforming the higher education, the others can always be onboarded.
Sir,
so the door is not closed for anybody.
My intention of asking this question, let me clear that.
Right.
The thing is that there are many very good things in this bill and every sector need that. While keeping some modalities that can protect those act actually made by the parliament. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it has also to be approved by the parliament and then only it will be effective in real sense.
Right.
And right now it is in JPC. If you can do something, keeping their identity in the way architecture has been kept to some less extent, they can be kept to some more extent, but if they are given that opportunity, it will be helping these sectors as well. This is my...
You're absolutely right. That is the reason why a lot of discussions have taken place on how many regulators can be brought in for the time being. And this is an ongoing process. As I said, it's not a closed door. Once VBSA is established, more and more regulators can be onboarded through discussions.
Then it will be 10 years late. This is what I presume, sir.
Right,
Please.
right.
Thank you, sir. This is Dr. Dabo Hidaldar from Guwahati University, Assam.
Okay.
Sir, this way, your left side, sir.
On my left side.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sir, first of all, I would like to offer my heartiest thanks for the nomenclature, that is Viksit Bharat Adhisthan Bill, which is completely Bharatiyanam. Unlike Indian knowledge system, which I have seen somewhere, yesterday someone has used BKS, that means Bharatiya knowledge system also, but Viksit Bharat Adhisthan is complete Bharatiyanam. My question is, sir, if you simplify it, somewhere you have mentioned about graded economy to the institution. If you simplify so that everyone can understand it very clearly, sir. Thank you.
Graded autonomy in the sense that not every institution is ready for complete autonomy for various reasons. So some of the institutions will require a kind of hand-holding by the regulator until they completely become autonomous. So that is the reason why the word graded autonomy is used, because there is so much of diversity. You can't put everybody under the same category. You need to give time for the institutions to grow. Right?
Sir,
Namaste, sir.
sir,
Yeah.
one point.
Namaste, sir. Namaste,
Right.
sir.
Meanwhile, yeah, go
Sir,
ahead.
One particular thing you said about the pragmatism. I think when the devil is in details, probably you need to have more pragmatism when it comes to implementation of it. What I'm just talking about is there is a shortfall in HEIs all over the country, just like the president told about the faculty. That shortfall or that inadequacies, if they run into the current VB, Viksit Bharat, how do we handle that? Second thing, there is a widespread opinion about the NEP 2020, the pedagogical depth and the innovation that ought to have taken, that hasn't come up. This is the other thing, and autonomy. I think NEP couldn't bring all the states on board. So now, if these states, some of them go away from it, how do we handle this situation? Just as a by way of-
Right. No, this is a very relevant statement that you have made. But what happens is whenever Parliament passes an act, it is a broader act. It cannot mention the micro details. Because every time we want a change after few years, you'll have to go to the Parliament to amend it, which is a difficult process. So therefore, the Act will only provide the broad guidelines. Now, once the VBSA comes, through consultation with the state governments, state universities, INIs, we will have to collectively work on the micro details and design them and announce the frameworks, guidelines, and the regulations.
Namaste, sir.
Yeah.
Namaste, sir. I am Professor Nixon, Mizoram University again.
Now it is working.
Yeah.
मेरा एक suggestion है.
Go ahead. I think there are two microphones. From Mizoram University here? Yeah. Please go ahead.
सर पहले तो सर मिनिस्ट्री यूजीसी को पैसे देते थे, यूजीसी यूनिवर्सिटी लोग को पैसे देते हैं. नाउ सर विद दिस विकसित भारत शिक्षा अधिष्ठान, what will be the role of this अधिष्ठान in terms of funding of educational institutes, sir?
Right.
क्या रोल रहेगा सर?
Right. So this is another very important question. You see, after the 12th plan ended in 2017, UGC stopped giving any funding to the colleges and universities, small research grants. So now after VBSA comes, the VBSA will not have any funding facility with it. It will not fund the universities and colleges. And this is deliberately done because globally, all funding decisions are away from the regulators. Funding is done by a different organization. The another question that many of the colleagues ask is in NEP 2020, when the HECI was mentioned, it mentioned 4 verticals. One of the verticals is a funding vertical. But in VBSA, why is that there is no funding vertical? We have to remember that funding for research is done by several ministries, not just only Ministry of Education. There are more than 10 or 15 ministries which fund, including defense and other organizations. So therefore, the government has taken a decision to create Anusandhan National Research Foundation. So ANRF will provide the funding for the research, and it is not part of the VBSA. So to answer your question, there will be no funding from VBSA. Right.
Okay, good afternoon, sir. This side.
Yeah.
Sir, as Professor Surani has also quoted, most of the institutions are lacking with the number of faculty or the infrastructure, or some are even teacher vihin, jo sir ne quote kiya. So does this bill have any stringent, पहले भी हमारे पास guidelines रही कि this should be faculty student ratio, but हम उनको implement नहीं कर पाए. Even UGC का 1:12 का ratio, whatever it is, and pan India we are lacking on this front actually. तो कुछ इस front पे regulations are fine, they will be updated from time to time. But what about infrastructure? जो हमारी विकसित भारत की तरफ जाने की यात्रा है, उसमें वो इंफ्रा हम दे पाएंगे क्या जिससे वो विकसित भारत की तरफ जा पाएं? तो ऐसा सब advisory रहेगा again, या there will be some stringent implementations of these measures in
Right.
front of infrastructure?
See, there are two things in your question. One is the infrastructure funding. The other one is the faculty recruitment. Now, the state universities are established by the state governments. So therefore, it becomes their responsibility to ensure, because finances are involved with the appointment of the teachers. So it becomes the responsibility of the state universities. And similarly, for infrastructure, the central government has certain schemes such as PM Usha scheme, through which infrastructure funding can be done to the state universities. But it is also the responsibility of the state universities to provide appropriate funding, because it is they who are establishing the state universities. So you can expect some extent of funding from the center, but the primary responsibility of recruitment and infrastructural development lies with the state governments.
Sir, this is Professor Sanjeev Sonavane.
Please let me talk now. Sir, I have some positive comment. I am Dr. G.K. Sinha, veterinary doctor, qualified, attached to a college, attached to a veterinary college here.
Right.
Now, you see what difficulty, what we feel that lot many colleges. Now, in your lecture, you said that there are 65,000 colleges,
right,
of arts, science, engineering, veterinary, medical, and arts college and all that. They are existing in the country. And you see, this also includes medical, veterinary, engineering, and all that.
Right.
Now, the things we are facing in the college is lack of faculty. And in spite of, we know that there is, experts are not available in medicine, surgery, pathology, and all that. And in spite of that, new colleges are being opened.
Right.
And there's a lot of difficulty, I tell you. I mean, this is, you see, then the professional standard will be going down unless the college is well equipped and well, you see, educated, expert professor for teaching in these medical or veterinary or engineering college or agricultural college. So that we have to keep in mind before opening a college. That's
right, sir. No, I share your concern, sir. It's a major challenge for all of us.
Sir, this is Professor Sanjeev Sonavane.
Hello.
Vice Chancellor Yashwantrao Chavan, Maharashtra Open University. Around 78% the ODL and open learning and blended learning students of a GDP, 28% we say. How this ODL, open learning and all this thing has been placed in this bill, taken care in this bill?
It will come under the Standard Council and also the Regulatory Council.
Yeah.
The approvals for all the ODL and online will be given by the Regulatory Council.
So all will come under the one umbrella. तो 22 गाड़ी होनी चाहिए, तो 3-4 गाड़ी से umbrella चलेगा क्या क्या ये? अपने जो apex bodies है, we are saying that this bill will take care of all these apex bodies or councils under a one umbrella.
Right.
तो umbrella में अभी तो 3-4 ही आ रहे हैं, बाद में वो वापस आ जाएंगे, लेकिन ये फिर वो हम umbrella नहीं बोल सकेंगे.
No, you are right. It appears as a concern for the time being, but even these 4 regulators themselves regulate nearly 90% of the students, and over a period of time, hopefully the other regulators will be onboarded. Okay? Right.
Sir.
Yeah.
Sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Sir.
After the session also I will be available. We can meet and discuss. Thank you.
आज के इस भव्य और गरिमामय तकनीकी समारोह में मैं प्रोफेसर जगदीश कुमार जी का हार्दिक आभार व्यक्त करता हूं, पर अवसर का लाभ उठाते हुए मैं भी एक बात कहना चाहूंगा, क्योंकि आप और साथ में जो मेरे सामने बैठे हैं, जैसे कैलाश जी बैठे, राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष मूर्ति जी बैठे हैं, भारत सरकार का एजुकेशन पर इस समय 2.6 बजट खर्च होता है। एनईपी में इसे 6% तक ले जाने की अपेक्षा रखी गई है। तो जब ये परसेंटेज बढ़े तो मेरा एक रिक्वेस्ट है, इस समय 94% स्टूडेंट्स स्टेट यूनिवर्सिटीज में पढ़ते हैं और 6% सेंट्रल ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस में पढ़ते हैं। पैसा स्टेट में 6% आता है और उन पर 94 खर्च होता है। थोड़ा सा इसको ठीक करने की जरूरत है। एक तरफ स्मार्ट क्लासरूम में बच्चा पढ़ रहा है और एक तरफ की तो आप दर्दनाक कहानी को सुन ही नहीं सकते हैं। दूसरा, मेरे शिक्षक साथी चूंकि भारतवर्ष से आए हुए हैं, मैं जिस यूनिवर्सिटी में रहा हूं वहां एक बात हमेशा कहता हूं कि हमारे देश की सबसे बड़ी कमजोरी जो है वो है नेशनलिटी की कमी। इस सभागार में जितने लोग बैठे हैं, हमारे में ये राष्ट्रीयता कहां से आई? हम ऐसे ऑर्गेनाइजेशन से जुड़े हुए हैं जहां पर प्रतिदिन इस बात की चर्चा होती है, इस बात का बौद्धिक होता है, और उस बौद्धिक को लगातार सुनने की वजह से हमारे दिमाग थोड़े ठीक हुए हैं। भारत के 33 करोड़ विद्यार्थी हैं जिनका दिमाग ठीक करना है, जिनकी राष्ट्रीयता को जगाना है, और उस जगाने के लिए मेरा निवेदन है, क्योंकि इसी राष्ट्रीयता के अभाव से ये भारतवर्ष का जो नक्शा आप देख रहे हो ना, इससे पहले अफगानिस्तान, ईरान, पाकिस्तान, बांग्लादेश तो खैर अभी हुए, श्रीलंका, नेपाल, सब कुछ भारत था। ये क्यों बिखरता गया, क्यों टूटता गया? केवल एकमात्र कारण, सैकड़ों वर्षों की गुलामी ने हमारी राष्ट्रीयता को कमजोर कर दिया। हजारों वर्ष पहले हमारी राष्ट्रीयता बहुत अखंड थी, वही राष्ट्रीयता पुनः लाने की आवश्यकता है। इसके लिए मेरा मानना है कि रिस्पॉन्सिबल ओनली शिक्षक है, क्योंकि वो हमारे पास 10, 15, 20 साल तक रहता है। और मेरे भी अध्यापक साथियों से निवेदन करता हूं मैं हमेशा कि यार सप्ताह में 5 दिन तो फिजिक्स, केमिस्ट्री, मैनेजमेंट पढ़ाओ आप, पर एक दिन कहीं ना कहीं वीर सावरकर, महाराणा प्रताप और शिवाजी भी पढ़ाना पड़ेगा। बच्चे को बताना पड़ेगा कि रामायण और महाभारत के वो प्रसंग सुनाने पड़ेंगे जिससे उसके मन में गर्व का अनुभव हो। अभी थोड़ा गर्व कमजोर है। कल उन्होंने नहीं बताया हमारे मूर्ति साहब ने कि आज का बच्चा अभी भी वो क्या बोलते हैं ना, मैं तो नाम ही भूल जाऊं, पिज्जा और बर्गर में ज्यादा विश्वास करने लग गए और कचौरी समोसे के बजाय। ये सोच का अभाव है और कोई तकलीफ नहीं इसमें। इसलिए इस सोच को बदलने की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी शिक्षक को लेनी पड़ेगी। और अगर हमने तय कर लिया तो मान करके चलो कि ये 2047 का सपना तो आप 2037 में ही पूरा कर दोगे। मैं एक बार पुनः इस भव्य समारोह के लिए आयोजकों का भी आभार व्यक्त करता हूं, श्रोता जो इस सभागार में बैठे हैं उन सब का भी आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। धन्यवाद। जय हिंद।
एक आवश्यक सूचना है, चूंकि राज्यपाल महोदय जी को आना है, RIC के बाहर रोड पे काफ़ी सारी गाड़ियां लगी हुई हैं, तो निवेदन है वहाँ से गाड़ियां हटा लें, अन्यथा पुलिस वहाँ से विद्या भारती उच्च शिक्षा संस्थान ने इस वर्ष एक नया प्रकल्प शुरू किया था, भारत बौद्धिक्स, जिसमें करीब 68,000 बच्चों ने पार्टिसिपेट किया। उनका पुरस्कार वितरण के लिए मैं राजकिशोर जी को आमंत्रित करता हूं।
सम्मानित मंच, सभागार में उपस्थित सभी विद्वज्जन, भारत बौद्धिक्स परीक्षा के पुरस्कार अनाउंस करने से पहले मैं निवेदन करूंगा हमारे राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष प्रोफेसर कैलाश चंद शर्मा जी से एंड IKS नेशनल कोऑर्डिनेशन प्रोफेसर घंटी मूर्ति जी से कि पुरस्कार वितरण में हमें मंच को ज्वाइन करें। इस परीक्षा का एक बैकग्राउंड देने के लिए, छोटा सा बैकग्राउंड देने के लिए हमने एक छोटी वीडियो फिल्म तैयार की है। मैं चाहूंगा कि आप उसको देखें तो इसका बैकग्राउंड आपको पता लगेगा।
भारत बौद्धिक्स भारतीय ज्ञान प्रणालियों पर आधारित एक राष्ट्रीय स्तर की परीक्षा है जिसका आयोजन विद्या भारती उच्च शिक्षा संस्थान द्वारा किया गया। ये परीक्षा नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी NEP के अनुरूप देश के उच्च शिक्षा संस्थानों में आयोजित की गई। इस परीक्षा की अवधारणा राष्ट्रीय संस्थागत नेतृत्व समागम इंदौर 2023 में पहली बार प्रस्तुत की गई। विचार स्पष्ट था, भारतीय ज्ञान को केवल चर्चा तक सीमित न रखकर उसे औपचारिक मूल्यांकन का हिस्सा बनाना। यहीं से भारत बौद्धिक्स परीक्षा का स्वरूप तय हुआ। ये यात्रा परीक्षा से शुरू नहीं हुई, ये शुरू हुई पुस्तकों से, क्योंकि बिना प्रमाणिक सामग्री के कोई भी शैक्षणिक प्रयास संभव नहीं होता। इसी सोच के साथ विद्या भारती उच्च शिक्षा संस्थान ने 21 शैक्षणिक पुस्तकें तैयार की, विज्ञान, कला और सामाजिक विज्ञान विषयों पर। ये पुस्तकें हिंदी और अंग्रेजी दोनों भाषाओं में उपलब्ध हैं और भारतीय ज्ञान प्रणालियों के विषय विशेषज्ञों द्वारा समीक्षित और प्रमाणित की गई हैं। इन पुस्तकों का विमोचन वर्ष 2025 में दिल्ली विश्वविद्यालय में हुआ और ये कार्य यहीं नहीं रुका। नई पुस्तकें लगातार विकसित की जा रही हैं। शिक्षा में ज्ञान का महत्व तभी स्थापित होता है जब उसका मूल्यांकन हो। इसीलिए भारत बौद्धिक्स को एक संरचित ऑफलाइन परीक्षा के रूप में आयोजित किया गया, जहां रटने की क्षमता नहीं बल्कि सोच और समझ को परखा गया। परीक्षा 2 घंटे की थी और कुल 100 अंकों की थी। प्रश्न पत्र में कुल 180 बहुविकल्पीय प्रश्न थे। 60 प्रश्न विज्ञान से, 60 प्रश्न कला से और 60 प्रश्न सामाजिक विज्ञान से। विद्यार्थियों को इनमें से किसी भी 80 प्रश्नों के उत्तर देने थे, एक ही विषय से या तीनों विषयों के संयोजन से। इसके साथ एक अनिवार्य वर्णनात्मक प्रश्न भी था, जो तार्किक और विश्लेषणात्मक सोच को परखता है। भारत बौद्धिक्स परीक्षा को जटिल नहीं बल्कि कॉलेज की सामान्य परीक्षा जैसा रखा गया। परीक्षा के दिन विद्यार्थी अपनी कॉलेज पहचान पत्र या वैध फोटो पहचान के आधार पर सीधे परीक्षा में शामिल हुए। इस परीक्षा में देश भर से व्यापक और गहरी सहभागिता देखने को मिली। उत्तर से दक्षिण, पूर्व से पश्चिम, शहरों से लेकर दूर दराज के क्षेत्रों तक उच्च शिक्षा संस्थानों ने इस परीक्षा को अपने परिसरों में आयोजित किया। 350 से अधिक संस्थानों ने इस प्रयास में भाग लिया और लगभग 70,000 विद्यार्थियों ने पंजीकरण कराया। कई स्थानों पर विद्यार्थियों ने लंबी दूरी तय की, तो कई जगह प्राकृतिक कठिनाइयों का सामना किया। उत्तराखंड के बर्फ से ढके सीमावर्ती क्षेत्रों में, जहां तापमान 0 से नीचे था, करीब 60 विद्यार्थी बर्फ के बीच से होकर परीक्षा केंद्र तक पहुंचे और परीक्षा दी। ये केवल संख्या की कहानी नहीं थी, ये उस विश्वास की कहानी थी जो विद्यार्थियों और संस्थानों ने भारत बौद्धिक्स परीक्षा पर दिखाया। ये सहभागिता साफ संकेत देती है कि भारत बौद्धिक्स एक विचार मात्र नहीं बल्कि एक स्वीकृत शैक्षणिक वास्तविकता है। परीक्षा परिणामों ने ये स्पष्ट कर दिया कि जब अध्ययन संरचित और गंभीर होता है तो सोच स्पष्ट होती है, समझ गहरी होती है और दृष्टिकोण व्यापक बनता है। भारत बौद्धिक्स परीक्षा का मूल्यांकन 3 स्तरों पर किया गया। पहले परीक्षा केंद्र स्तर पर, फिर राज्य स्तर पर, जहां प्रत्येक राज्य के सभी केंद्रों के परिणामों को एक साथ परखा गया, और अंत में राष्ट्रीय स्तर पर दिल्ली में, जहां सभी राज्यों के परिणाम एक विशेषज्ञ जूरी के समक्ष रखे गए। जूरी की स्वीकृति के बाद ही अंतिम परिणाम तय किए गए और अब घोषित किए जाएंगे। शैक्षणिक उत्कृष्टता को मान्यता देने के लिए भारत बौद्धिक्स परीक्षा में राज्य और राष्ट्रीय दोनों स्तरों पर पुरस्कार प्रदान किए गए। राज्य स्तर पर देश के विभिन्न राज्यों से करीब 300 विद्यार्थियों को 2500 रुपए प्रत्येक का पुरस्कार दिया गया। राष्ट्रीय स्तर पर 4 विद्यार्थियों को 25,000 रुपए प्रत्येक, 2 विद्यार्थियों को 50,000 रुपए प्रत्येक और 1 राष्ट्रीय टॉपर को 1 लाख रुपए का पुरस्कार प्रदान किया गया। पर्दे पर दिखाई दे रहे नाम आज के पुरस्कार समारोह में औपचारिक रूप से घोषित किए जाएंगे। भारत बौद्धिक्स एक शुरुआत है। आने वाले समय में ये और व्यापक होगा, अधिक संस्थानों और अधिक विद्यार्थियों के साथ, क्योंकि भारतीय ज्ञान प्रणालियां अतीत की स्मृति नहीं, भविष्य की दिशा हैं।
धन्यवाद। मैं सम्मानित मंच से निवेदन करूंगा कि वह अपने कर कमलों से जो बच्चों को पुरस्कार दिया जाना है उनका प्रोत्साहन और उनका सम्मान करें। यह परीक्षा किसी भी मायने में साधारण नहीं रही। इसका मूल्यांकन 3 स्तर पर किया गया। सो जो बच्चे यहाँ पर आए हैं, हम इंश्योर कर सकते हैं कि उनको भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा पर आधारित जो ज्ञान है उसकी अच्छी नॉलेज है। तो उनके प्रोत्साहन के लिए मैं हाउस से भी चाहूँगा कि बच्चों का उत्साहवर्धन करने के लिए समय समय पर तालियां बजाते रहें। धन्यवाद। 25,000 के 4 प्राइजेस हैं। जो पहले कैंडिडेट हैं मेघा जैन, जो राजस्थान से ही हैं। मेघा जैन। मेगा जैन गवर्नमेंट विमेन इंजीनियरिंग कॉलेज अजमेर से हैं। शी इज ए स्टूडेंट ऑफ बीटेक कंप्यूटर साइंस सेकेंड ईयर। उनके स्पेशल अचीवमेंट्स हैं सिक्योर्ड 92.8% मार्क्स इन क्लास 12th एंड रैंक सेकेंड इन फर्स्ट ईयर ऑफ ग्रेजुएशन। दूसरे कैंडिडेट हैं स्वराली साठे। स्वराली डेक्कन कॉलेज से हैं। शी इज ए पोस्ट ग्रेजुएट स्टूडेंट इन रिसर्च इंस्टीट्यूट पुणे। इनका कोर्स है MA संस्कृत एंड लेक्सिकोग्राफी। शी इज ए फर्स्ट ईयर स्टूडेंट। जो इनके अचीवमेंट हैं, शी हैज रिटन एंड प्रेजेंटेड 2 रिसर्च पेपर्स ऑन नेशनल लेवल एंड स्टेट लेवल एंड रिसीव्ड सेकेंड प्राइज इन स्टेट लेवल एंड नेशनल लेवल ऑल्सो। तीसरे स्टूडेंट हैं कर्णगी ठाकुर। आप मध्य प्रदेश से हैं। इनके कॉलेज का नाम है राष्ट्र भारती शिक्षा महाविद्यालय उज्जैन। इन्होंने प्रथम पुरस्कार प्राप्त किया है विश्वविद्यालय स्तर पर इन स्पीच कंपटीशन। चौथे विद्यार्थी हैं गौरव कोहली। ये दिल्ली विश्वविद्यालय के हिंदू कॉलेज के छात्र हैं। BA ऑनर्स में अध्ययन कर रहे हैं पॉलिटिकल साइंस में। इनके अचीवमेंट्स हैं, ही इज रिकॉग्नाइज्ड एज ए यूथ आइकन बाय मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ यूथ अफेयर्स एंड स्पोर्ट्स, नेशनल प्रेजेंटर एक्ट VBYLD 2026, नेशनल विनर एट राइटिंग competition organized by CEE India and youth and young reporter for the environment. $50,000 के प्राइज के लिए हमारे पास 2 विद्यार्थी हैं। रिबेला हिमाचल प्रदेश से हैं। रिबेला सरदार पटेल यूनिवर्सिटी से हैं मंडी। इन्होंने BSc के बाद अब MSc में एडमिशन लिया है, MSc इंटीग्रेटेड इन फिजिक्स 4th ईयर प्रोग्राम। शी हैज secured 95.6% in class 12th and honored with Inspire Fellowship. दूसरा 50,000 का पुरस्कार जाता है स्नेहा मुरारी को, उत्तराखंड। ये DSB कैंपस में कुमाऊं यूनिवर्सिटी में अध्ययन कर रही हैं नैनीताल में। इनका कोर्स है इंटीग्रेटेड टीचर एजुकेशन प्रोग्राम ITEP। शी इज ए 3rd ईयर एंड 6th सेमेस्टर स्टूडेंट। हर अचीवमेंट इज शी हैज secured 87% in class 12th एंड इनका कॉलेज रहा सरदार पटेल यूनिवर्सिटी मंडी। अब नंबर है प्रथम पुरस्कार का राष्ट्रीय स्तर पर जो 1 लाख का पुरस्कार था। ये काफी रिगरस इवैल्यूएशंस के बाद जूरी की मंजूरी के बाद जाता है सानवी तनेजा को। ये सभी कैंडिडेट वर आउटस्टैंडिंग इन देयर इंटरेक्शंस, इंटरव्यूज एंड द इवैल्यूएशंस। शी इज फ्रॉम ITS कॉलेज मोहननगर गाजियाबाद। Her course is BBA first year. She has got 97% marks in 12th CBSE. Honored with Principal's Award at Queen Global International School for Academic Excellence. She received Utkarsh Chhatra Samman Pratik Award by Shri Lakshman Das Gupta Charitable Trust for outstanding performance in class 12th CBSE. इन सभी बच्चों के उत्साहवर्धन के लिए हम चाहेंगे इनके साथ एक ग्रुप फोटो हो जाए और आपसे अपेक्षा है कि अपने करतल ध्वनि से इनका स्वागत करें ताकि बच्चों को आगे
सभी छात्रों को बहुत बहुत बधाइयाँ। समय की बाध्यता है, इसलिए सूक्ष्म रूप में हमारे जो राजस्थान के तीनों प्रांत के कार्यकारिणी के सदस्य, उनका एक सूक्ष्म रूप से परिचय करा था। संजय जी, जितना जल्दी संभव हो कृपया प्लीज।
इस 2 दिवसीय अखिल भारतीय संस्थागत नेतृत्व समागम 2026 में जिन साथियों ने, जिन कार्यकर्ताओं ने विद्या भारती उच्च शिक्षा संस्थान के तीनों प्रांतों से, राजस्थान क्षेत्र के तीनों प्रांतों से, जिन्होंने पिछले 3 महीनों से अथक परिश्रम करके इस कार्यक्रम की संरचना में योगदान किया, मैं उनको एक बार आप सभी से परिचित कराना चाहता हूं। मैं उनसे आग्रह करूंगा कि मंच के सामने ही वो एक पंक्ति में आएँ फटाफट। सबसे पहले प्रोफेसर धनंजय कुमार द्विवेदी, जयपुर प्रांत अध्यक्ष, अपनी टीम के साथ। जयपुर प्रांत के सामने, सर सामने खड़े हो। शीघ्रता करें साथी, फटाफट। जोरदार तालियों के साथ आप इनका उत्साहवर्धन करें। ये जो भी 2 दिन की जो व्यवस्था आप देख रहे हैं, उसमें इन साथियों का बहुत ही योगदान रहा है। इसके पश्चात मैं आग्रह करूंगा शीघ्रता करें जी, धन्यवाद। प्रोफेसर महेंद्र गोखरू, अध्यक्ष चित्तौड़ प्रांत। प्रोफेसर गोखरू अपनी टीम के साथ पधारें। तालियों से इनका उत्साहवर्धन करें। ये जोधपुर प्रांत की टीम है, सॉरी चित्तौड़ प्रांत की टीम है। और इसके उपरांत मैं आग्रह करूंगा प्रोफेसर ओपी बिश्नोई, अध्यक्ष जोधपुर प्रांत इकाई, वो पधारें। और इस प्रकार ये तीनों प्रांत इकाइयों से आपका परिचय कराया। मैं डॉक्टर संजय शर्मा, क्षेत्र संयोजक, विद्या भारती उच्च शिक्षण संस्थान, आप सभी का धन्यवाद करता हूं।
धन्यवाद संजय जी। अगला कार्यक्रम, उसकी तैयारियां ऑलरेडी शुरू हो चुकी हैं, तो इस सत्र को समाप्त करने से पहले मैं आभार व्यक्त करना चाहता हूं हमारे दोनों अतिथि महोदय, अध्यक्ष कैलाश जी और हमारे मुख्य वक्ता जगदीश जी का। उसके साथ ही हमारे सारे सभागार में उपस्थित लोगों का भी धन्यवाद। आप सब लोग आए, बहुत सारे प्रश्न थे, बहुत सारे क्वेश्चंस का आंसर हुआ, बाकी ऑफ द लाइन डिस्कस करेंगे। सभी को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। अगले कार्यक्रम के लिए सबसे निवेदन है 3:45 तक वापस आए। 4 बजे ठीक कार्यक्रम शुरू होगा, राज्यपाल जी निकल चुके हैं, तो सभी से निवेदन है कि 3:45 तक हम लोग वापस सभागार में उपस्थित। धन्यवाद।